Piea Q2 membership forum. Remember, these are quarterly engagements for our members, and also whereby we invite various stakeholders in the oil and gas sector and also outside the oil and gas sector to be able to discuss and bring forth topical issues which are of benefit to our members. So I'd like to start off this membership forum with a safety briefing, and then we'll be able to proceed by introducing our guests for today, and then from there they'll be able to present a presentation, and then we'll proceed with a Q&A session and close the session. So let me start with the safety briefing. In line with the industry practice, we'll commence this virtual meeting with a safety briefing. We request you to come to a complete and safe stop and park in a well-lit area where you're not obstructing traffic and being obstructed by the motorists or pedestrians. We also trust that you have identified emergency exit points and you know the queue that will alert you to safely and calmly exit your meeting location in case of an emergency. We also request that you make sure that you have already washed your hands with soap and running water for at least 20 seconds. If not, please make sure you use hand sanitizer. Also hope that you have disposable tissues in place just in case you sneeze or cough. If not, make sure you use you sneeze or cough into the crook of your arm. Also trust that you have taken up the queue for the second and also the booster vaccine in line with the emerging variants of COVID-19, and also request you to make sure that you continually sanitize your offices and work areas and surfaces. In line with the physical and mental health wellness, we like to give a brief mental health brief. Look twice, listen twice, and think twice and speak once. Think twice, that is, think twice before you say anything. Extend empathy without judgment. Listen twice, speak once, so we can listen and discern more and prudent to the mouth. Ensure that you look twice, particularly at verbal and nonverbal cues and appearance, or at what may be said through the body language. For the efficiency of this meeting, we request all members to keep the microphones on mute except for the speaker. And if you have any questions or issues, kindly type on the chat box or use the raise hand feature. For today's Q2 membership forum, we'd like to introduce AMITRUCK. AMITRUCK, we are joined by Mark Mwangi and also Yusuf Gaige, the CEO and Managing Director for AMITRUCK. And AMITRUCK is basically a leading Africa efficient logistics company, which is basically a digital marketplace for tracking. And we'd like them to introduce themselves. So let's just hand over the microphone to Mark Mwangi to take this from here. Mark?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the handover, Alfred. Just allow me a second to turn on my camera and share my screen. Yeah, so as mentioned, I'm Mark Mwangi. I'm the CEO and founder of AMITRUCK. We are a leading digital logistics marketplace that's trying to bring trust and transparency to the African transport market. So the idea of AMITRUCK came up when we realized that the transport market was very fragmented and characterized by a litter of middlemen. So you could have a cargo owner can have up to 3 brokers between sorts of issues. The first one is that they can take up to 60% of the cost. Of course, there's a lack of quality. It's very difficult to compare across service providers. Should anything happen to your load, then it's very difficult for the cargo owner to get compensated. And finally, the processes were very manual, time-consuming, mostly based on phones, which made it very difficult to scale. So AMITRUCK tries to solve these problems by connecting transporters using directly with cargo owners. This greatly improves on the transparency, allowing for comparison across a large number very quickly. Greatly improves on the quality and reliability of the service. And we also provide things such as security, which means that the cargo owner's goods and data are secure. To take you a bit through how the solution works, basically you go through a short registration process on our website or on our mobile application, and you you start telling us about your delivery. The first thing that the system would ask for is your pickup and drop off points, and you can have as many as you need. The second thing is ask you to select your vehicle. So would you like anything from a border all the way to a 28-ton truck? And then you have a drop-down menu to select your pickup date and time. Then drivers, once you finish telling us about your delivery and you put that on the system, all the drivers on the application who can see the delivery can then send back their pricing. And they can see each other's prices, which means that it's sort of a reverse auction. And we rank those by rating and by price for you as the consumer. And you can then use that detail of their rating, experience, and pricing to choose which driver you would like to do the delivery. Once you pick a driver, you can then track them on the system, or you can contact them on the phone. We also give you access to our customer care and operational team, which is quite generous and is always on standby to help if anything happens. Once the driver is finished, you will be alerted by a notification on the system, and you can then complete the delivery and rate him, and the entire transaction happens online. We are currently replicating our Kenyan success to the rest of Eastern Africa, with offices open now in Rwanda, Uganda, and Tanzania. We've managed to get our fleet to well over 10,000 vehicles registered, and we are currently providing over almost 50,000 vehicles for deliveries quarter. Some of the other benefits that come along, everything that you've seen me show you with the delivery is possible through an API integration, which means any digital estates such as e-commerce platforms or ERP systems can automatically place deliveries on the system. Of course, because the drivers can see each other's pricing, it's very competitively priced. We also offer customized logistics solutions, which I'll mention briefly in more detail. Of course, it's available 24/7. We vet the transporter, we vet the driver and the vehicle, so you know who's transporting your load and you know whose vehicle your load is in. We take security very seriously, so we provide insurance as well as world-leading data security standards, so 16-bit encryption as you'd get on AWS. We also offer a single point of contact, so should anything happen to your load, should you get into an accident, should there be a breakdown, we have a long list of replacement color and a generous customer care and operational team to attend to that. And then, of course, at the end of the period, you get a simplified invoice, and we also provide any sort of analytics, so the data is available should you wish to consume that. And of course, this is a flexible fleet with very, very low capital requirements on your side. With regards to buying vehicles, you can focus on your core capability and leave the transportation to us. But to sweeten the deal even further, we also provide working capital financing. So those are some of the sort of obvious benefits of the on-demand service. Like I mentioned, we also do a customized digital solutions for our larger customers. In this case, clients are able to specify pricing based on time or distance. They can have dedicated vehicles at the sites they require them, and they can have them there on a monthly basis, on a weekly basis, whichever way suits them the best. We make sure the vehicles are maintained. We ensure and oversee all the fueling, making sure that's as efficient and secure as possible. And we will go even as far as getting drivers to receive special training in case they're required to handle goods in a specific way or carry out any transactions. So this is one where you basically reach out and we customize the solution for you. We're working with a long list of customers. We work with large startups such as Twig, SoccerWatch. We also work with the likes of MarketForce 360. We also work with large organizations. So I've put on here Unilever and DHL, but we also work with Maersk and GE. And we continue to be excited about the long list of partners we're managing to acquire. So I think that sort of gives a brief overview of who we are. So I'll open the floor to any questions.
Okay, thank you, Mark, for that brief and well-detailed presentation. Maybe just a question regarding the in the oil and gas sector, we have transportation for the transportation of cylinders, LPG cylinders, within the market. What are procedures? Or how can we how can a OMC, oil marketing company, which deals with either lubricants, which is a very highly valuable commodity, or LPG cylinders, be integrated to this digital marketplace or platform?
Yeah, so I think the solution is quite flexible, and off the top of my, I mean, there are myriad ways you can do this. I think, to start with, the pilot can be relatively simple to do, just jumping on the website and using that service. We have worked with some of the e-commerce startups delivering LPG specifically from depots to consumers in the past. But if you would like to go further than that, you can actually digitize the entire process by integrating to our API, and which means that when customers order for LPG or for lubricants on your system or your website, AMITRUCK would see that order and give it to its delivery partners digitally. And that entire process that I took you through for booking can then be fully automated all the way down to invoicing. I don't know if that answers your questions, but please feel free to follow on.
Okay, I think that is well detailed. However, if somebody else has a question regarding the same, kindly type on the chat box. I have another question about who owns the trucks.
For think of this a bit like an Uber, but for transport vehicles. So we actually just provide the technology. So we provide the platform. Partners then present or register their vehicles on the platform. We ensure that those vehicles are safe. We ensure that we understand who owns the vehicle. We vet the drivers and the transporters, and then we allow them access to the platform to service our cargo owners.
Okay, thank you for that question. Another question is, how easy is it to integrate the system to an already existing supply chain distribution network with companies, given that companies have their own supply chain, the way they manage things? So does it mean that some people will be fired, or will it still retain the employees? What really takes place? Because it's a concern among the listeners.
Yeah, so I think what we've seen with the introduction of technology into supply chain is just the ability for the company to do more with the labor force that it has. So at the moment, you probably find within the logistics chain that a lot of time is spent on phone calls, chasing up to see where the transporters are, trying to compare pricing, possibly chasing up to see where the load is, if it arrives safely, and if the paperwork is done. What AMITRUCK does is it frees up your supply chain labor to actually focus more on things that really add value to the business, and frees them up from having to do very manual and tedious tasks, whilst making sure the whole process is transparent, the whole process is secure. So, we're basically using technology as an enabler to improve on efficiency.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Another question is, when you're having a situation whereby goods in transit, okay, yeah, I've seen another question about goods in transit, but it's in line with what I wanted to ask. So let me just ask before I proceed to the other question. One is, if you have a good in transit, for example, goods have arrived in Mombasa port and they need to be transported to maybe South Sudan or Uganda, what's the procedure? And also, yes, what's the procedure before I proceed to the other question?
Yeah, so I think the process is exactly the same as I had mentioned to you earlier. If you're using the on-demand service, then you would tell us the origin. So that would be the Mombasa port, the destination, which would be South Sudan. You would then probably require a 28-ton truck if it's a container, assuming it's goods in transit. And then we would then allow all the transporters on our site who could do that load. In this case, it would mean within and around the environments of Mombasa port, with a 28-ton available to send their pricing to you. You can then look at those transporters' experience, how many deliveries they've done on the platform, their rating so far, and more, and of course their price. And that with that information, you then decide which of those transporters you would like to deliver your load. Once you pick the transporter, you will then be able to contact the transporter. You will be able to track the transporter on the system. And you will also have access to our customer care team who can help advise if you have any further questions. Once the transporter is done, you would be notified. You then get an opportunity to rate the transporter, leave any comments behind, and we would then settle the entire transaction at that point. I don't know if that's clear enough.
Okay, that's clear enough. Another question I like to ask is, for the products in transit, are the goods insured?
Yes, we provide goods in transit cover.
So is that on top? So basically the goods in transit insurance cover is on top of the cost for procuring your services, I believe.
Yes, we itemize the price separately, and it's basically based on the value of your consignment up to a certain limit that currently is 10 million shillings, but can be adjusted as required.
Okay, well noted. Another question is, the petroleum products are quite unique. Do you have any experience in transporting of wet products, and how do you handle losses?
Sorry, could you repeat the question?
The petroleum products are quite unique. Do you have any experience in wet product transportation, and how do you handle losses?
So, whilst our experience in wet products has mainly been in and around domestic products, so we do a lot of cooking oil, for example. We do a lot of chemicals. We don't have direct experience for wet products in petroleum. We haven't really had to deal with losses in the past, and to sort of give you a ballpark figure of the kind of risk profile we're running, having done probably over 200,000 deliveries in terms of vehicles provided since we started, we've only encountered problems with two. And both of those were because the vehicles broke down with agricultural product on a hot day, and unfortunately we suffered some losses. So we've had a really high level of fulfillment with regards to our deliveries getting to their destination customers.
Okay, I hope, Benson, that question has been answered well. If not, you can maybe just use the raise hand feature and be able to unmute your mic and maybe speak further from there. The other question is, within Kenya, are you active outside Nairobi?
Yeah, so our coverage of Kenya is actually quite good, pretty much covering the entire country. So yes, we are active.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, can a customer have real-time tracking of their goods in transit?
Yes, they can, both on the platform as well as on whichever other system the truck may be using.
Okay, thank you. Another question is, when the quote is being given, is loading and offloading considered? I believe is a costing. Is that clear also here?
Yeah. So with regards to loading and offloading, it's definitely on a case-by-case basis. I think if you specify that within, there's an opportunity as you book your delivery to specify should you require that to be included.
Okay. question. Let me see. There's one more question. I believe the question about access to track your cargo has been answered from pickup point to delivery stage. And yes, so do we have any other question? Maybe somebody with a question, you can use the raise hand feature before we close the session for today. Any person who maybe the question was not clearly elaborated, you can use the raise hand feature and unmute your mic. I believe I'm seeing there are no questions or hand raised, so I believe all the participants are well satisfied with the way the questions were answered. So maybe just to say thank you to AMITRUCK for accepting to participate in our Q2 membership forum, and we look forward to also having an article. We will, as a follow-up for the membership forum, we'll have an article on the Petroleum Insight Magazine for the Q2. And from here, members will also share the contacts for AMITRUCK, for members to be able to engage with them and see how they can be able to benefit further from here. Just before we close the session, I'd like to remind you we have the Piea WLPGA Summit and Training Workshop, which is coming up on the 11th, 13th of May. I just want to take this opportunity to remind members to make sure that you subscribe and remember to register for the event. The event will be still held virtually, and it is a 3-day event. The first day, which will be the first and second day, will involve the summit. After that, the proceeding event will be the training workshop. And remember, these are the summit is a free event. The training workshop was paid, and also have the training workshop which will be covered by international trainers from the World Liquefied Petroleum Gas Association, and it will be covering various best practices, good industry best practices in the LPG sector, and given that, and also all the trainees will be certified with international certification after the training. So with those few remarks, we would like to come to the end of this Q2 membership forum, and thank you all the members for attending. And also remember, we'll have everything set up on our Piea YouTube channel, just in case you need to be able to see it later, be able to see it on our Piea YouTube channel on YouTube for this video. Thank you all, and have a good morning and afternoon, and enjoy your holidays. Bye bye.